Well, hello once again, everyone. As I'm taking this video, it is minutes before 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, November the 10th, 2022, and I am sitting in my truck on a rain day in the middle of a fairgrounds. This fairgrounds is the Okefenokee Agricultural Fair in Waycross, Georgia. It's my first time doing this fair, and this would have been day number 3 of this fair, but with the tropical storms coming through, they just called it a rain day. Soundstage with hay bales to sit on. Petting zoo slash pony rides. We got all the rides there. There's my booth right next to the lemonade. And then we got all the expo halls over here. And I have already, in the first 2 days, met and had some kind of high fives, we remember you kind of moments with people that saw me working the Swamp Festival back in March. And so to all of you guys, new subscribers and old subscribers as well, thank you for making Waycross such a welcoming and friendly place. And I'll say this for this fair, halfway through the first day I was already in the black. Now there's not a whole lot of fairs that I can say that for, but yeah, the campground I'm staying at was relatively inexpensive, as was the booth rent. But if I say that too much to the manager, I know they'll raise my rent, so I'm not going to say that to them. But to you guys, yes, I will most likely do this fair again because it has it's paying off nicely. All right, so having access to Waycross on a rain day, what is the first thing I'm going to do? You guys know, right? I'm going to do a little thrifting, and of course I'm going over to Retro Reboot. So let's do it.
Yeah. I don't mind you doing like video, but you can take pictures. As far as advanced candies, amen.
Fisher-Price Theater. How does this work? Okay, so I know those right there would slide into this slot right here. Huh. I've never seen one of these before. Somebody put it down in the comments. How do they work? Were they cool? Okay, Rumble Racing. Don't know if I've seen before. This right here I know is kind of rare. I've heard somewhere that this, even though the movie wasn't that good, the game is like a hidden gem. And I don't think I have it yet. Well, that was a little bit weird, as when I was here for the Swamp Festival earlier this year, I made a video about this store, and they didn't give me any problems at all about taking video in the store. I was able to narrate the video and everything, and there was even somebody from the store that left a comment on the video saying, thanks for coming by. But today, when I was in there, the person working the counter kept telling me to stop taking video. You know, hey buddy, stop taking video. You can take pictures, but you can't take video. Which I pretty much ignored most of the time. Then when I told him that I had made a video earlier this year, and somebody from the store seemed to like the video, he backed off a little bit, but by that point I was just like, I don't know what the problem is with these guys. The store was still a very nicely presented store. I really like the layout, the way that as you're coming in, and it's very welcoming, and there is like 80s toys on either side of you as you come in. All the glass counters with the retro toys, and then the back area with all the movies and the plushies, and then the whole wall of PS2 and everything like that. It's really nicely curated, nicely laid out, nicely maintained store. It's even got a lot of like stuff hanging from the ceilings, and yeah, really like it in there. If not for the person behind the counter, but yeah, they had a lot of old Star Wars stuff this time, so I think they're really doubling down on the Star Wars right now for some reason. Maybe they just got a big load of it. I ended up buying some stuff. Let's just go over that real quick. First off is this Star Trek Shattered Universe for the PlayStation 2, complete with the manual. Right there. It's a starfighter kind of dogfight game, which kind of seems a little weird to set that in the Star Trek universe because there's not a whole lot of like starfighters in the Star Trek universe. It's a lot of computerized lock-in. Everything is done from the bridge. A lot of photon torpedoes and stuff like that. But yeah, somehow maybe I think that's part of the shifting dimension. So you're going to a different like mirror universe where starfighters are a common thing, and so that's kind of how they set it up. I think it's set in the DS9 universe, and I'm pretty sure I really like the heads-up display there. That reminds me a lot of like old school Wing Commander, or Colony Wars and stuff like that. But I think the gameplay itself is set in third person, where the camera angle is behind the ship. So that's going to be something kind of new. Some of the reviews said that it's a little repetitious, but also that the cutscenes are done well, but a little dated. But the story does move along and is kind of engaging. So it's a little bit of a budget title at only $10. So that was good. Then I got Rumble Racing again for the PlayStation 2, complete with manual once again, like that. When I get those. And this one is a combat racer, very similar to, I think it's called Blur on the Xbox 360, where the vehicles are very customizable and they change visually according to how you customize them very well. And there's a lot of power-ups and weapons that you can pick up and use to inhibit or destroy or knock your opponents off the sides of the race. And then, of course, I already said that Peter Jackson's King Kong, while maybe not a good movie, this has been said many times. I think even Metal Jesus has said this, that this is a hidden gem of a game. I think there might be a 360 version too, but this is the PS2 version. And even the cashier said that this is an underrated game that is very much in the vein of old Turok, only like done to make it even more fun. So that was something I was happy to hear. At only like $6 for the game, and manual in there as well. So yeah, there we go. Those were the disc-based games that I bought. I actually got a couple of cartridge games as well. First, I got Palamedes for the original NES, because the Angry Video Game Nerd actually described this as a hidden gem. And it was, I think, $12, and for an old school cartridge game, that is relatively inexpensive. So, and it's kind of cool to me that they've got like a little bit of a guide on how to play the game right there on the label. And I think the idea was that you're to use it on the top loader. That way, your eyes can flick back and forth, you know, to see how your points add up according to, you know, which ones of the dice sides that you can match in your hand. But I think what I would do if I was playing this game is I would just like take a digital picture of this, or maybe take a digital picture and print it out, something along those lines, and just have it right next to me. And then I got this right here. And this is a repro card, if you can't already tell that by the bright red of this actually really nicely made injection mold plastic repro cards. Anyway, this one is called the Super 8-Bit Collection, and it boasts 143 games in one. And they were telling me that this isn't actually pirates, as they've got the license, or at least the person that made the repro says they have the license to all of these games. I feel pretty confident that this is done competently. Like a lot of those weird knockoffs that you see like at flea markets and whatnot will say that there's 1,000+ games in them. And you know that there was only like a little over 500 games ever made for the 8-bit Nintendo. So what they're doing is they're just, you know, putting the same game in the list under a bunch of different names, and when you try to play it, it's the buttons orientation is switched around, and there's a delay when you hit the buttons, and it's just really janky and awful. But when you see something like this that actually looks like it was made with care, with nice glue on the label, and it's nice and glossy, and the plastic is done well, the collar is vibrant. You've got these, well, they're not the proprietary square Nintendo screws, but they're little Phillips heads, and even a little back label to match the old school kind of back label. Yeah, I feel pretty confident that this is going to be a nice gameplay experience. You're not going to have a bunch of glitches and whatnot in there. And this card itself was like $50, 55, I think, something like that. So yeah, you guys can take a look at that. There's the label artwork was done really well. It's printed a little janky. Looks like the resolution on the scan wasn't done completely right, but yeah, for the most part, yeah. At some point, I'm going to have to get either a Nintendo or something like that to put in my camper so that I can play some of these games while I'm traveling. But there we go. That was the second thing I got. All right. Not far away, we find this place, Saved without an E. Saved Toys and Games. If you like to collect. And then below, we've got the tagline of video games, action figures, and more. See, now that first one, video games, that is what we are here for. Well, this rain is not letting up. Okay, so this is it right here. Looks like a giant barn. Right next to what looks like used to be homes or duplexes or something. Alright, it's going in. Got Luigi painted on a pallet here right at the door. Please use other door. Okay. Here. Oh, wow. Surprisingly, the Wii U console itself is going up in price, but the games are actually staying very affordable. Look at that. Woolly World. And it's Amiibo enabled for only $18. And that's a Nintendo IP. Yeah. Oh, there's another Woolly World there.
That is the nature of our
Sonic All-Stars Racing. Yeah. X-Men trading cards.
Now, this one wasn't the best snowboarding game, but it had really cool artwork.
Sega Saturn games. Okay, mostly sports. Pick through. Except for the Sega CD. What do we got here? Dracula Unleashed. CID. Strike. Echo. I think there was actually a pretty good original PlayStation version of that one. What have we got here? Microcosm. Yeah, Microcosm. Oh. Huh. It's a $15 game. I don't have a Sega CD. Or I'd probably get it. It's an impressive amount of original Nintendo. I haven't seen this many in one place in a long time. Normally if you see this many, most like half of them are sports, but we got a few uncommons here. Thunderbird. Black Bucks Soccer. Well, the time warp happened. It's a few minutes after 5 o'clock now, so I was in there for quite a while. It's actually starting to get dark. But it was a haven for uncommon cartridge video games for the original NES, so I'll show you what all I got. Let's just start from the top. In the bargain bin, I found this loose copy of an action RPG for the original Xbox called Sudoku, I think. Don't kill me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But it was only $6. If it had been in the case with the manual, it would have been $13.50, I believe. So, interested to see how that one is. And then I got a 360 game. This is a movie-based game for $8. And as movie games go, the reviews are saying this is actually slightly above average. It's an okay game. And I actually collect a lot of things that have to do with Where the Wild Things Are because I am a big fan of the movie. Alright, so let's start with the cartridges. On the NES, I got this one. I think when I first glanced at it, I thought it was a Brutal Fighter, but it's actually Buria? I don't know how to pronounce that first word. But it's actually a scrolling shooter, and it's very tough, as scrolling shooters are, but it's not a one-hit kill. You're going to get hit 3 times, and it can be a lot of fun. So that one. I got another. This one's a vertical scrolling shooter called Thunderbirds. That's actually based on I think it was British, TV show with the marionettes and all of the miniatures and the fighter planes and stuff like that. There was a lot of people that have a lot of nostalgia for the original show, Thunderbirds. I'm actually not one of them, but it looked like a really fun game. Phantom Fighter, uncommon scrolling fighter game, kind of clunky controls, but said to be pretty good anyway because there's a lot of story to go through. And then Robot Warrior, which is a top-down, what do they call that? Isometric kind of Bomberman game that was made by the same company that later made Bomberman and also Star Tropics. So there's some influence of some flavors of both of them in here. Kind of a hidden gem, and there's marker on the back of it. I wonder what this is supposed to mean. It's got a D-pad, start select, and then A, B, square. I don't know what this is. Anyway, there you go. That's all of those. And then I got one 7800 game. This is one of the few that I didn't already have. It's called Fatal Run, and loose it goes for about $85 according to price charting. They had it priced at $75, but I talked them down to $50. And on top of that, I got 10% off of everything else because I was buying so much at one time. So yeah, I talked them down a little bit. And so this one, they said it's untested, but it's a 7800 game. As long as you don't see rust on the pins, they normally work. I don't think I've ever had one that didn't. And I'm actually considering this the find of the day. I got a VHS copy of Runaway Ralph. And I didn't even know this existed, but it's actually a sequel to a movie called Mouse on a Motorcycle. And it was a book that my mom actually read to me when I was a kid. I actually really loved it and was delighted to find that there had been a movie made of it. And the movie was a little bit kind of made-for-TV feel, but the special effects had a lot of like that old school stop-motion feel to it, and it was pretty good. Was not aware they had made a sequel to it, but here we go. And look at that, it's the same kid and the same what is this, the hotel manager. And so I can tell it's made by the same people. This is the same kind of puppet that was in that first movie, and he's once again on his motorcycle. It's the same motorcycle. So yeah, I was not aware they had made a sequel to it. And I am so happy to have found this. This has got to be a very uncommon thing out there. I'm sure it's not very expensive, just not very common. All right, well, I've been talking and doing all this. All right, let's just get back to the camper. That's it for today.